Hi there, welcome. This is the first tutorial for the studio project Point Line and Plane in Introduction to Graphic Design. We're going to go over a few things today. We're going to talk about making artboards. We're going to show you how to zoom, the basic shape drawing tools in Illustrator, how to move, rotate, and scale objects, and we're going to learn about cutting and pasting, the difference between fill and outline, and how to arrange objects on sublayers in Illustrator. So let's start out with this. We have a new document. I went to File, New Document, and we're going to make a document with 3 artboards, each at 3 inches by 3 inches. We end up with something like this. This gives you 3 distinct workspaces for the 3 parts of your project. One will be a symmetrical design, one an asymmetrical design, and one a design that exemplifies motion or movement in a 2-dimensional space. So the first thing to talk about is how to zoom in and out, because right now we're looking at all 3, but we really want to get to a place where we can concentrate on one of our artboards. So to do that, we use Control or Command, depending on whether you're on a Mac or a PC, plus or minus. Plus zooms us in, and we can there get to a place where we're just looking at our 3-inch by 3-inch first artboard, or we can Command minus and zoom out. So here we are. That is zoom. Next, we want to look at some basic tools, basic drawing tools. We'll start with the line tool. And before I say anything about that, we want to make sure we understand that on the left are all of our tools. We're going to slowly uncover, as we go through this course, different kinds of tools and how to use them. And we're starting with the most basic. When I create an object by clicking and dragging to make a line, let's just put this line, drop it right there. When I have an object selected, everything up on this top menu corresponds to that object. So right now this is telling me this object has no fill, but it has an outline that's black. Its stroke or its line width is 1 point, and I can increase that or decrease that. And there's all these other qualities. It has an opacity of 100%, and these are its stylings, which I can change and create different brushes. Okay, so I'm going to stick with the basic for now, but you can experiment. And I'm going to make some other shapes. Let's try a rectangle. Unlike the line, the rectangle is able to have fill. So I can select a color and create fill for my rectangle. I can also change the outline color to say that, and I can also increase the stroke of the outline so that I can end up with a shape with fill and outline of different colors. Anytime I am looking at colors and I see the white with the red slash through it, that means that that is assigned no color. So if I select none with my object selected, I can remove the fill or outline. I don't want to do that right now. I'd rather keep it on there for examples. And there we are. We now have 2 objects. Let's try, just for kicks, to make a third. We're going to make a circle. To make a circle from the ellipse tool, I have to hold shift. And that's the same as making a square from the rectangle tool. It makes a perfectly proportioned object. And right now, if I drag my circle over my rectangle, it's just showing me that outline because I do not have any fill. If I create fill, then you can see that now I have a white circle rather than a circle with just no fill. Alright, so here we are on a different artboard, and you can see that I've created this purple zigzag with the pencil tool, which is a tool that you should experiment with. And I've also created 3 tilted small rectangles of different colors underneath. So I'm going to show you how I went about doing that, and we're going to talk about moving and rotating and scaling objects. And we'll use the rectangle as our example. So in order to move an object, you simply select it with your black arrow, direct select tool, your selection tool, and you can move objects like so. In order to rotate objects, you select an object, and when you mouse to the corner of the object, you can see your cursor turn into a curved arrow, like that. Now, when I click and drag, you can see that I'm actually able to rotate the object. So that is how you rotate an object. And once I've rotated the object, I can move it into the place that I want to. Scaling happens by grabbing the corner or any of the white dots when the object is selected and clicking and dragging. So I can scale this green rectangle to be a larger shape, or I can scale it down. If I grab the corner, I'm able to control the shape as a whole, scale the shape as a whole up and down. And if I hold Shift, I scale it down in proportion. Which is an important thing to understand, because sometimes you want to make sure that you keep the objects you're scaling in the same proportion that you created them in. Okay, here we are on a third artboard, and I'm going to demonstrate arranging objects behind and in front of one another. So I have 3 squares here of different shades of blue, and I want to be able to arrange them in different ways. So if I would like to take this square here, the sort of middle shade of blue, and place it behind the aqua blue, the way to do that is to select it and go to Object, Arrange, Send Backward. And that Object Arrange menu function is an important one to access. It allows you to push layers behind one another and in front of one another. Once I have my dark blue back there, I can then arrange it how I want to, and I can select the inner aqua rectangle and adjust it accordingly. And you see that I have a series of concentric rectangles, squares in this case, arranged behind one another. So if I did want to take this dark object, make it larger using my scale function, holding Shift to maintain the perfect proportions, and I made it big, it would be in front. To demonstrate again, I say Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and it becomes the back object. Okay, so now you can see that I'm looking at all 3 of the artboards, and the last step of this project, once you have your 3 artboards completed and you're happy with them, is to save them properly as a PDF for submission. The way to do that is going to be to go to File, Save As, select the appropriate place where you would like to save your file, and name it appropriately, which a good way to name this is point, line, plane, and perhaps your name. Now, you see this is an AI file, which is an Adobe Illustrator file. That's a project file, and it's going to require Illustrator to be opened. in order to do that. The way I would like files submitted is as PDFs, as indicated in the parameters. So if you select PDF, you'll see that you'll be given the .pdf extension, and you want to make sure that you use all the artboards, and that's going to give you a PDF that is a 3 artboard PDF. And at that point, you save the PDF. With all these options, you can say save, and that should give you a PDF that you can submit on Blackboard as your final project.